Okay, last but not least, I'm not going to totally finish this painting, but I wanted you to see some of the finishing touches. So I've put new colors out, cleaned my palette space, I've got clean water, and I'm ready to go. So here's what we're going to do next. Down at the bottom, I often like to use kind of deep colors. I'm going to take some purple, dioxazine purple, alizarin crimson. Just mix those two together, maybe a little more alizarin crimson. And I like, it's almost like a frame effect when I have something at the bottom. Like a darker color, it pops these lights out, brings your focus back to the lights. And I often do really dark colors down there, but this is a little lighter than I do sometimes. And normally, like I said, I'll be painting all around the sides. So now for this section, maybe I'll add some green to that, the phthalo green. And I'll make a kind of a dark green in here. Just kind of, it's almost like a frame to it. Like, you know, like you had a frame around it. And then maybe I'll take some quinacridone. I'm just kind of letting it mix with, you notice I didn't even clean my brush. If I can use what's on my brush, I do. Sometimes I need it to be pure clean, especially if I was going to do anything yellow. It would have to be really, really clean. Often when I do a yellow, I have to go and change the water because I can't get it yellow and clean enough to make the yellow. Okay, so there's that. Now we're going to pretend like I've painted all this other stuff. And now some more of the idea of the cake decorating. Like this mountain, everything's kind of flattish, like a coloring book right now. This is where I can take opposite colors. Like maybe I'm going to take some of this mixture that has a little bit of that quinacridone. I'm going to put that somewhere that it doesn't seem to really go. Like what I just did here. You see how I can do these little kind of lines that just give you a different contour. So it's an opposite color. And I did that on purpose so you could see when it's wet on top of wet. Background was still wet and that was still wet. That it kind of half blends. Now with oil paints you do that a lot. With acrylics, maybe, maybe not. So okay, now I'm going to take some of this green that's still wet, make it light enough. I added a little more of the, maybe I'm going to put a little highlight, just a little hint with the skinny edge of my brush. Again, I'm not pointing straight at the canvas. You don't want to paint with the tip of your brush. I'm still using the side. While I've got it, you remember this one down here that's still wet? It's a little hard. Sometimes I even turn my canvas upside down so that I can get to it better. Just a little hint of highlights on one side or little patterns. Something like that. I could add yellow to that. Make it a more yellowy, light yellowy green. Maybe I could use that for a highlight somewhere. I don't really want it on my forest green trees, but like this one, maybe that's not even light enough. Even more yellow, but I want to have a hint of green, not pure yellow. It might be too, yeah, that's about right. It's got to contrast with that background yellow or it won't show up. Again, it's as if the light's hitting on one side of the bushes or trees. Like here, I could do it as if the light's coming from above, or so I'm just keeping it at the tops. Need a new rag, clean brush, clean water, clean palette. All right, now let's go. I'm trying to think of what would show up in this video good enough to show you some of my little what I call my cake decorating. Like this green. See how I can add on as if the sun's coming one way, but it's this pinky purpley color. I could even do that same color on that side. Now I didn't get the third part of this mountain painted here, so I'm going to add a little orange to that, but I want it to be more pale, so it'll look kind of like what's here, but maybe a little different. So this is a mountain layer, and I've just layered it with, like the mountains out here, they have strips sometimes of like a light color rock that goes through. And the mesas, a mesa is these little flat parts. So anyway, I think you can kind of get the idea now. In here, I'm going to take some cadmium red light. So I'm going to maybe even add as if there's a little highlight on the sides of those little fields, or maybe at the top, just to give a little more pizzazz to it. It looks a little dull. If it's looking dull, it just means it needs more contrast somewhere. All right, let's take a green, low green, add some of this light blue. You can buy turquoise in a tube. Sometimes I do. Or you can just, you know, make something similar. And might put a little more back in here so you can see. But you can see it begins to grow. While I've got this, I could even put it in this little space that didn't get any paint in it. I'm trying to make that look kind of like a little path, not necessarily exactly. I could even put this down here. Maybe I'll just go all the way across with it. Trying to stay out of the way of the video. Not doing a great job at that. This is a very crude setup for my video, so I have no idea if this will work, or even I'm learning. I don't even know how to send it properly, so I'm getting help from the gallery and from Scottsdale Artist School, from Sedona Art Center. Those are all places I teach. So I'm always having to ask advice. Make that a little more bright orange. Let's put some orange in here. I've had students ask me if I would make a video for teaching, and I'm so limited in my computer knowledge, and I don't have a lot of the new equipment. I've got an old phone, an old laptop, but it's amazing what you can do with these things, even when it's not the high-end stuff. Just get some yellow and white, put it in there. Now that's too close to the house color. Let's go back and have a green in there. That's too close to the house. It's not going to set the house off as much as I want. Still not. I have to go something deeper. So I want that house to pop out there. I want you to see that bottom edge of that house. Now while I've got this color, watch what I could do with it. See this purple? I could have little textures on that, just little marks. You don't want to get it too cutesy, so it's always a battle, you know, how to keep it modern, how to keep it kind of stylized and simple, but not as simple as a greeting card necessarily. So it's always a battle how to do that. It's just, like I said, everything's trial and error. Put that whole little bush there. So anyway, that's probably enough for this little video experiment. So maybe you can imagine what it might look like if it were finished. Let's go back maybe while I got one more little thing here I can see might help. get the cadmium light, put a little edge to this roof. Maybe even some little marks, because I don't have anything up here yet. Maybe we'll go ahead and put something in there. Or I'll cut this video off. Now, what do I want to put up here? Let's go to this. I like this chromium green. Sometimes I put the slightest bit of yellow ochre in it. Not too much. I like that color it makes. Let's see if that's, I want it even lighter than that. You see, I use a lot of paint. Don't be skimpy on putting your paints out. One of the classic statements in my classes that I tell everybody, you got to get it out of your vocabulary. Oh, I don't want to waste paint. And if you think you don't want to waste paint, you won't put enough out. You won't be able to get these creamy strokes. And then what happens is you won't have enough paint, and you'll just keep blending and blending and blending it, and you'll lose all these wonderful little accidents and brush marks that show up. Now with oil paints, you can let the brush strokes show, I think, or at least for me, much easier than with acrylics, but you can still do them with acrylics. See, you can see those brush strokes. Let's go all the way over here, right to the end. I'll have to match all these colors to paint the sides. This is what's called a gallery wrap canvas, and you don't have to frame it. And I paint the painting all around the sides. The easy thing would be just to paint a solid color, but I like to do the painting itself. Let's suppose I wanted a little window. I might just take my original color and just do that. See, looks like a little window. I don't want them to be too perfect. I like them to be a little crookedy. See? Door. Oh, watch this. I could make a chimney right here. Chimney. How about a chimney here? Well, it's still wet up above. That might not work too good. Now, I lost my red line right here, so I'll put it back in with the original drawing color. But the problem, and you see how I'm leaning to steady my arm. The problem is I have to kind of lift it up on and off and make it a little broken looking, or it won't fit in with the rest of the picture. If I just did a smooth line, it won't fit as good like that. Sometimes you can, sometimes you can't. So it's always harder to put them back in. Like I said, it's better if you just don't cover them up the first time. All right, now I could even do things like this. Take this cadmium light, and a smaller brush might make it easier, but just to show you, if I wanted to, I could make it look like there's something growing along that edge. And this is when you start getting more details. My little, like I call it my cake decorating. And I could come in, let's say I decide I want another little bush that doesn't exist. And I wanted a dark green. Let's say I wanted some little bushes along this edge. I have to keep them asymmetrical. Don't make all the points the same height. Make them different heights so it'll look natural. Back in here, I could do the same thing. Let's just say I want it to look like a little row of trees. Notice I'm resting on my hand. See, it looks like a little row of trees. It just begins to add just more texture, more things going on, more asymmetrical, some fatter, some thicker, some taller, some shorter. Same with mountains. Don't let all the edges look rounded the same. Some taller, some shorter, crookedy things like that I got from my drawing. You know, I like this row of trees. I think I'm going to go all the way across here. See how I can just add in some things later if I think it would benefit the picture. If I come from the bottom up, it makes the bottom, see how I got kind of fuzzy right there. So your brush shape and the amount of paint you have on your brush will have a big effect too. Now, I like things to overlap, so I might want it to look like some of these are more bushy and less tree-like. I'm holding it like a pencil now, just I need a little more control. Okay, see how you can begin to add things? Look at the depth that's beginning to add in. Let's put some more of the green in that. Let's add a little bit of white to it. Let's see, maybe down here. Oh, maybe we could have a little, no, it's not quite light enough. Have some contrast. Like here, let's just say this bush. Not enough contrast. Let's go back with some yellow and white. So weird to be doing a palette up in the air like this. Now that shows up. All right, so let's say, or along this edge, maybe I want some little bushy-like things. I'm just using the shape of my brush. If I turn it sideways to the flat side, and remember it's a filbert, which means it's rounded, so I can use that to my advantage. So I just don't want it to be too perfect. So you're getting the idea a little bit. All right, now up in here, look, I could have as if it was a little row of bushy things along these edges, because sometimes you'll see that on fields along the edges like that. So you see how it begins to build and build. Now these are still kind of plain. I might like them plain because I want this to be your focus place. More going on here, it's more in the foreground. Although it's not like realism painting where everything gets pale as it goes back and gets lighter. I do a little of that, but I don't want it realistic. So sometimes in modern, you're actually bringing this back plane. Instead of making it look way back, you make it look forward by bright colors. It flattens it out on purpose. To me, it's almost easier to do realism because you don't have to think about anything. If I'm doing realism, I just copy what's there. And I can do ultra realism if I want. I was a portrait painter in the Atlanta Portrait Society. I've taught it. Taught realism. I've taught total abstract non-representational where it's not even a picture of anything. So I can do the whole gamut of stuff, and I really like it all. But I got bored with realism after a while, and I just wanted something different. So I'm just adding some little contrasty colors now. This bothers me. That's way too flat. What can we do with that? Actually, let's go with the opposite. Instead of putting a lighter color, let's go put something darker in this one. Ooh, this is cerulean blue. I didn't have that out the first go around. Let's make that a little more bluish and see what happens. Look at that. Now that's a high contrast. See, it's much lighter and much darker. Not as subtle as some of the others. So let's put some of this in this one. Ooh, that might even go in here. Just little swirly things. It's hard for me to do it. This wooden thing is in my way. I can't quite get down there and do what I want to do. All right, so this is too plain. It's, I guess I'm kind of rushing here at the end, which I shouldn't be doing. I still feel like we need some oomph on this roof. Look at that. This one, I'm going to put it more on this side. Maybe here. It just feels a little dull. Okay, so you kind of get the idea. This is all pale back here. I could do the opposite if I wanted. Let's say I wanted to do the opposite. I could come in with a darker color and go on the side maybe where the light's not hitting. I could even do it on this real light one. So you can have high contrast, low contrast. See, I can go back in, and you can add as much or little as you want. Let's take this one while it's still wet. Like even put an opposite color. This is a pink, but I don't want it to look too much like that pink, so I'm going to leave some of the green in between. Maybe while I've got that, I'll put some of that here. No, it's not bright enough. I'm going to put some more orange. Let's put some orange in there. Better. So, as you can see, it's layer on top of layer on top of layer, changing your color choices. Oh, good, that's not what I want. Okay, that one's, I want a different color right in there. Not too different, but a little different. Actually, I think I might put it there. Now they have it. Oh, and I could take that and put it on the darker side. See, you can go in stripes and polka dots. I mean, you can get as wild with this as you want. Maybe I'm going to take this pure ultramarine, and I'm having a hard time finding a clean spot here. It's just ultramarine and white. This coronavirus is forcing us all to do things differently, isn't it? See, I sort of look around when I have something on my brush that I like and go, is there somewhere else I might want to put that? Maybe right here, because I've got a kind of a turquoise in there. Let's get this sort of turquoise. Let's add a little white to that. I don't like that being this blue. I want a little more green. Oh, could take some of this. Whoops. Got some white on my brush. I have to be careful because that'll show up. Okay, see, it's growing and growing and growing. Okay, so that's basically what I do with the painting. And you'll just have to use your imagination for the rest of it, because that's as far as I'm going to go with this video. So I hope you enjoyed it. And I teach at the Scottsdale Artist School, Sedona Art Center, Top Colorado, Atlanta, different places. So look on my website, Claudia Hartley, HARTLEY.com, and Bonner David Gallery. So enjoy painting, and you can email me, HartleyArt, HARTLEYART @gmail.com. You can get hold of me through my gallery, through the schools. And I hope you all stay well, and I hope I stay well. I had to cancel several trips. 2 years ago, I hurt my back. I broke several vertebrae. Had to cancel a trip to teach in Italy. And I canceled a trip to see my grandkids in Georgia and South Carolina. And I just had to cancel a trip again. I was going to see them, going to Charleston. So I guess life is full of changes, but hopefully art makes it a brighter, cheerier place, and I can bring some joy into this dark world. So go paint, have fun, come to my classes, email me with questions, and hope to see you someday. Bye.